Hello everyone, today I will be coming to you with a simple winter tutorial. I'm starting by priming my face with the Benefit Professional, and I'm just putting that in my T-zone and on my cheekbones where I tend to be oiliest. Moving on to concealer, because I'm putting on powder foundation today. I do a little bit under my eyes and dot it around my face for any blemishes that I wish to conceal. As you can see, I've got a lot right now. And then I let that set for a little bit while I wet my sponges, and I'm going in and blending under my eyes. Now I use soft patting motions and blend out towards the outer corner of my eye. And then immediately setting that with the Coty Airspun powder in translucent. And taking a generous amount on my sponge, I am lightly patting that under my eye where I put the concealer to bake. And now I'm just going in with my finger and blending out all of the spots where I put dots of concealer. I prefer using my pinky finger because I feel like it gives me more control over how it's blended out. And now going in with that powder foundation, I'm using the Tarte powder foundation in Fair Light Neutral. And going in with a big, dense powder brush, and I am patting that foundation into my face instead of swiping because I feel like I get better coverage that way. And now I am going in with an eye primer. Now this one has to set, so I am going in and doing other things next. This is the Milani eye primer. A little bit goes a long way, so I'm just taking a tiny bit on my finger and spreading it on my eye. Now I'm dusting away my bake with this Physicians Formula brightening powder in translucent pearl. And I'm using a tapered cheek brush to go in because it gets right under my eye and just sweeping it away. So while that eye primer is setting, I'm going to go in and do my brows. I start with a brow gel. This is the Ulta Brow Gel in medium brown, and I prefer to use a gel because I have longer brow hairs, and this lets me more easily see where there's little patches because it's hard for me to pluck my brows without ending up with huge patches, and I'm a little terrified of trying to cut the hairs myself. Now I'm just filling in any patchy places with a brow pencil. This is the ColourPop brow pencil in Bangin' Brunette. And I'm just going in with small short strokes to fill in any places that I see patchiness. Now that I'm satisfied with my brows, I am moving on to my eyes. Now I'm putting down a cream shadow, the Wet n Wild single shadow in Creme Brulee, because I feel like it makes it easier to blend out shadows. And I'm just going to use a big, dense eye shadow brush and pat that in from the crease to my brow bone. Now this will make colors less pigmented because you've already put another shadow down, but I'm not going for a super pigmented look today. So I don't really care that it's less pigmented. Now I will be using the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air eyeshadow palette, and I will refer to the shadows by the numbers on the back. So first I'm taking a tapered crease brush and dipping into color number 1, the cool toned brown transition color, and on my outer third I'm using circular motions to blend in the color and sweeping windshield wiper motions on my crease as I pull the color in. And I'm taking small back and forth motions on the outer part of my eye to wing out the shadow a bit. Now I'm using a more dense crease brush and going into color number 5, it might be 9, I'm not sure, it's hard to read, but it's the dark brown in the palette. and I'm just using circular motions on the outer third of my eye to blend in with that transition color. And then I'm using back and forth motions in my crease, but I'm not taking it up quite as far as I did the transition color, so that there's still some definition. Don't forget some back and forth motions to wing it out like you did the transition color. Now I'm going back in with that first transition color on my first brush to blend the two together until I'm happy with it. Then taking a flat shadow brush and some setting spray. This is the Hard Candy setting spray. I am spraying my brush twice and then going into color number 3, and I am just sweeping that on my lid. Now with wet shadows, they act like creams, so be careful or you will end up with a hot mess. Now that the shadow is done, let's move on to eyeliner. I am using the Mary Kay gel liner in black today. This was a gift, so I'm testing it out, not really sure how I feel about it yet. So I'm using an angled liner brush, dipping that in, and then tight lining along my lash line. So that's going in under my lashes on like the waterline by my lashes. Then going from the halfway point of my eye to the outer part of my lash line, and then going from the inner part, connecting it to the middle part. I feel like it's easier to work with less liner closer to the inner part of my eye, so starting on the outside helps with that. Now curling my lashes, I do this very specifically. I do 2 pumps at the root and then pump along the lashes until I get to the tips, if that makes sense. It's a little bit easier to see what I'm talking about, but it's kind of hard to describe. And then going in using my favorite mascara at the moment. This is the Essence I Heart Extreme Mascara in the waterproof version. And I also do this very weirdly. So I do a couple of swipes and then I roll the wand at the root of my lashes so that it gets more product at the root, so that I end up with a more voluminous looking lash. And then for my lower lash line, I'm using that classic Physicians Formula mascara in the green leaf tube and just wiggling that wand along my lower lash line. This is an optional step for me, but you do you. It's just makeup. It wipes off at the end of the day. And then onto my cheeks, I'm using the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in light bronze. And taking an angled brush, an angled cheek brush that is, and the lower part of the brush will be in the hollow of my cheekbone, and the longer part of the brush right at my cheekbones. And this, I feel like, is the best placement because it's almost where your blush is, so if I don't want to go with blush on a particular day, I can just skip blush, and this gives me some color in my cheeks. Moving on to blush, I'm using the Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in Mellow Wine and a tapered blush brush, and just sweeping that very lightly along right by my cheekbones, but not quite where you would put highlighter. And be careful with this particular blush. It is very pigmented and you can easily look like a clown. Now I'm using that tapered eye crease brush, a different one, but still that same kind of brush, and using that to dip into Sugar Bomb by Benefit, and using that as my highlighter. I am just using swirling circular motions along my cheekbones until I have the desired shimmery blinding effect. Then going in and highlighting the bridge of my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chin. Finally, I forgot to put white liner along my lower waterline, and just going in with the ColourPop liner in Exit. Finally, moving on to lips. This is the ColourPop liquid lipstick in Guess. Now, this color is discontinued, but for good reason. This is their old formula. I've had this lipstick for years. It is very dry and it chipped off all day. So I threw it out after this application. And because it's very drying, it's very difficult to work with. So I'm going in very slowly and very carefully because it dries down almost immediately. Like I said, very carefully. That looks pretty good. All right, hair down, let's take a closer look. And this is our final look. Pretty simple. You can change the lip color so it's not quite so harsh, but this is great for every day in the wintertime. So, thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button and I will see all y'all next time. Bye!